Hello, Internet. This is Whispering Whim, bringing you yet another grocery haul today. And hopefully I'm not too nasally. I've got a bit of a stuffy nose. I don't think I'm genuinely sick. The weather has turned a bit cold and dry out there for me. And my nose no likey. But we're gonna just forge ahead. And interestingly enough, our first item are some cough drops. Now, I didn't buy these because I thought I was sick. I buy them because I do teach needle felting classes, but very irregularly. So my voice, it's kind of ironic. I do these videos, so you think I must be a big talker, right? Like, I'm always telling people stories and stuff. I'm actually a pretty big hermit. So outside of doing the videos and my classes, and then obviously I have to sell my stuff in person sometimes, so the big shows, I sit around and I don't talk. So every time I do, it gets a little rough after a while. So I got cough drops for that. Plus, when I'm teaching, I always have to be really close to the person's project, and the person always leans in, right? Like, because they want more information and or to hear me better. And so I'm always like, oh no, what do I smell like, breath wise? And cough drops just solve that, because then I smell like a cough drop. Anyways, our first item are some gushers. I admit this was my favorite, fruit snack as a kid. And of course, they were more expensive than the regular fruit snacks, so I didn't get them that often. But I didn't really buy these for me, although I'll probably sneak a pack or two. I bought them for my guy. He really seems to like fruit gummy type snacks a lot. He's never said as much, but he'll go through anything I bring home. So gushers or sour worms, or I think it was in last month's video, I got the spicy mangoes. I've done that a couple of times. And he just goes through all of them. I think he actually likes fruit flavored snacks much better than chocolate flavored ones. So, speaking of snacks, I got him some granola sweet and salty bars, peanut flavor. I was getting him the ones that are like high protein for a while, but he seems to lack any noticeable difference between the high protein ones and the low protein ones. And I don't know how it is where you guys live, but the regular kind with no added protein are actually kind of cheaper. So I think I'm going to switch him to just the regular granola bars for a little bit and see how it goes. That's another thing I add to the lunch. So when I make his lunch, I usually make sure there's some kind of protein in there, because he doesn't like well, he would eat a hot lunch, but he doesn't like to take leftovers and go into the break room and microwave them. Apparently that's just not okay. So he always gets a standard cold lunch when I make it. And I do make his lunch pretty often. And it's a lot harder to add protein to his cold lunches because there's only a couple of protein sources he thinks is acceptable cold. He has some texture issues and some childhood trauma about being made to eat cold leftovers. So, like fried chicken, I can eat that cold just fine. Pizza, I can eat that cold just fine. Him, no way, Jose. So mainly his source of protein is either nuts or cheese when he has the cold lunch. And I was trying to add it in with the granola bars, right? But like I said, he couldn't tell the difference, and for some reason, adding protein to a granola bar makes it like $2 more expensive a box. And we're on super budget mode right now. But that's a topic for another story. We have some diced peaches also for his lunches. And I remembered to actually check to make sure there was no artificial sugar in here. We both don't like that. He doesn't mind as much as I do, but for me, it doesn't matter what kind of sweetener it is. It could be stevia, monk fruit, Splenda, Equate, all of them. I think all of them leave a weird aftertaste. I don't like them. So, and they're getting more and more common in everything. Like, they're adding artificial sugar to ketchup these days. And it's like, come on, some of us care. But apparently not enough of us, because supply and demand, right? And now this noisy little guy, it's an interesting sound, is my avocado oil. I'm positive I talked about this last month to you. The cheaper avocado oil at my main grocery store are these little tiny bottles. I say tiny only because I go through a lot of it. But these little bottles are, per ounce cheaper than the big ones. And pretty much every time I go, I say, I'm not sure if that's quite enough oil for a whole month. But I still only buy one. And then a lot of times I start to get really low on the oil and start panicking. And I'll sub in like butter. Butter's pretty good depending on the situation. Or I do have a little bit of vegetable oil floating around. It's not my preference, but I'll use it. And so every month I'm like, maybe I should just buy 2 of those when I go shopping. And I did not. Oh, what are you going to do with me? Next up, we have some lemons. I know at least one of these guys is for a batch of hummus that I will be making soon. But I don't remember why I got 2. So you guys know this already, but I'll repeat myself. When I grocery shop, I usually write out the things I plan on making, and then on a separate page, I write out the ingredients that I need to buy to accomplish that. And occasionally, I shop on a different day than I do the videos, and between all those different steps, I lose track of what I bought or why I bought it. Not too often, but it does happen here and there. So now I do know why I bought these jumbo shells, and that is because I will be making some spinach ricotta shells. So you basically boil the pasta ahead of time and drain it, and you got to let it cool for at least 10 minutes before you touch it, because otherwise it's still boiling hot. And yes, this is a lesson I need to learn almost every time I make spinach ricotta shells. But if you let it cool down enough, you can fill all sorts of things. You don't have to do spinach ricotta for the shells. And I typically add a little bit of turkey to mine just to up the protein factor. And I haven't done it for a while, so I think my guy will be pretty happy to be served to them. Next up, we've got some chicken noodle soup. This is like the store brand for the fancier Campbell's, the ones that you don't add water to. So we'll see how that goes. I tried to add a bunch of backup foods for me because I went through quite a few of them in the last month. I'm normally cooking dinner like every night, almost. But my husband has been having some extra social obligations, and he's off, and he usually eats dinner with whoever he's visiting with, right? So I've been on my own, which is actually perfectly fine. I love it. I'm a bit of a hermit in real life. But it does mean things like this can of chili, which I had one last month, got eaten up because when I don't have to cook for the two of us, I ain't cooking, honey. I usually favor either like a little snack plate. I think people on the internet call that the girl dinner now. Or just something really quick and easy like a can of chili, right? Moving right along though, this guy, he's fun to hear, is some granola. This one's sort of a pumpkin, it like flaxseed granola. So this one's like a fiber guy. And there's going to be another one. I don't think it made it quite into the same bag later on. But the reason why I'm getting granola is the infamous mini fridge. My guy likes to have some yogurts in his mini fridge, but he prefers yogurt with texture. And last month I got him some almond slices, and I also threw in some, dried blueberries. And he went through them, and he wants more, which is fine. This is fine. But like, I get no direction. He's just like, yeah, I love breakfast stuff, or I love yogurt, or I love, once I figure out that he likes yogurt, he's like, well, yeah, I'd love some toppings. And I'm like, what toppings? And he's like, So, the struggle is real, folks. But, anyways, I got a couple of different, just two. Well, that is a couple. Two different types of granola to just see if that's a fun topper for him. Because he's not really a huge, like, nut person. But he'll eat the nuts just for the texture. Very texture-based kind of a guy. But moving right along, I have some multivitamins. This is a brand I haven't tried yet. I was going to order the Amazon ones because I kind of like the way they taste. But I don't know. I'm trying to not support Amazon so much, all things considered. So we're going to try those, and then... Oh, well, that'll be in another bag. But I also got some fiber supplements too. But that's somewhere else. Okay. Next up, some good old garlic powder. I went through a phase where I was basically offended when a recipe called for garlic powder instead of fresh garlic. Let me tell you what. I'm over that phase. Certain recipes actually, do better with the garlic powder. And then there are also just days that the less chopping I do, the better or the more fluid mealtime becomes, right? So sometimes you have to admit defeat. Because as someone who does I don't do a lot of cooking. Well, I do, but it's like home cooking. It's not fancy cooking. But as someone who cooks often, I have opinions about ingredients. And sometimes I just have to rewrite that expectation. I'm willing to adapt. Moving right along, we have some olives. And this is a pretty banal topic, but this grocery trip, I noticed that the store brand and this, which is kind of a main brand, were the same price. So it's like, ooh, maybe we'll get the fancy ones. They're not really fancy. But anyways, I noticed that on the store brand, they marked their olives, all of them are medium, and these are extra large, right? Well, I actually had to use a few of my groceries yesterday. I did the shopping trip a day ahead of the video again because, boy, it's hard to do both things in the same day. I'll tell you what. So the other can of these, I open them up and I look at them, and they're the same size as the medium ones from the store brand. They taste all right. There was nothing wrong with them, but if it becomes true again that the store brand is cheaper than the main brand, I'm gonna go with the store brand because there's no discernible difference. Okay. Next up, we've got some more granola. As I said, there were a few, well, two, that's a few, different flavors. And this one is coconut and chia seed. So you get your fiber in. And fiber is what keeps you full longer, right? And all of my doctors say I need to eat more fiber, so I should probably save a little bit of that and try it for myself instead of giving it all to my guy for his workday yogurt breakfast. He doesn't need breakfast every day, but I guess some days he just wakes up more hungry than others. And now that he has the sacred mini fridge, he can take care of that. So, all right, we're gonna keep this boat moving here. I've got some sea salt seaweed snacks. The story I can tell you about this is I'm the one who eats seaweed snacks. My guy does not like them. But also, I prefer just plain old salt. That's all I want. And the store that I normally shop at, Wincombe, has gotten a lot of flavors. And usually the plain one sells out, and then there's like chili lime left over. And I haven't tried them, but chili and lime are both on the not GERD friendly food list. So yeah, I'm not gonna try any of the fancy flavors. So I just have to wait until the sea salt gets back in stock. Next up is some quick noodles. I tried to avoid these for a long time, and lately I have been wanting to eat them so much. I grew up with them. 5 minutes, a little bit of water, tiny bit of butter, and voila, you have noodles. And I wasn't making them for us for a while because they're kind of bland compared to my standard cooking. But now that bland is kind of what I need to do for my own digestional health, I have been really enjoying these silly box pastas. It's like $1.50 for one box. So by portion, that's a lot more expensive than just buying noodles and making my own sauce from scratch, but they just hit a spot right now that I'm not going to deny. So my poor guy, I try to fancify his portion. So I'll add some chili flakes and some extra cheese and whatever else I think matches sort of the tone of the entree. But he still doesn't care for them that much. But, sometimes I make things just because he likes them, and sometimes I make things just because I like them. And that's actually okay in our relationship. So I am blessed in that way. Okay. Anyways, we have got some sliced almonds. They are a great salad topper and a good yogurt topper. So I'll probably have to split that between his workplace to go pack that I'll build up once I get all the yogurt supplies in one bag. But I'll have to keep a little bit of it at home because I do eat a fair amount of salads now. So we're going to move right along. Got some tuna fish. Just some quick, easy protein for me. I've been going through a weird phase where I don't care for chicken all that much, and that's mostly what we eat. Like, my guy likes chicken. It's a very versatile ingredient. Beef is too expensive, right? Yada, yada, yada. In fact, there was, because it's March now, there was corned beef in the store on sale. And like the cheapest one I could find was $12. And I love making corned beef, but between the fact of the price and the fact that it's considered a preserved meat, which is on the no-no list, I was like, nah, I'll pass today. But I'm not even positive I would have liked it, because I don't know. I usually eat like just little tiny samplings of things, like a few nuts and a few chips and a little bit of fruit. And it doesn't sustain me for a long time, but it's a lot healthier than when I eat TV dinners. So what you gonna do? Next up, speaking of chicken, a chicken marinade. This one is garlic, herb, and wine flavor. So, just for a random chicken dish. I'm not sure which one yet. Can never have too many spices. And then we have some sweet corn. I usually buy corn frozen, and I usually avoid sweet corn because that's my preference if I'm just eating corn. But I want to make a knockoff of a KFC bowl. You know, mashed potatoes and chicken and all of that fun stuff. And to really get an authentic flavor, you need to use sweet corn. So I have it and I'm gonna do it. It's another dish my guy's kind of meh on, but you know, he still finds it preferable over, you know, Hot Pockets from the microwave. So we'll take our victories where we can. And then we'll have some dried cranberries. It could also be a yogurt topping. Maybe I'll give him some for yogurt. But this is one of the things I like to add to my salads to kind of give it a little bit of pep. Basically, when you do GERD, you're supposed to avoid like fat and acid. There's a lot of other things, but like those are the two main ones, fat and acid. And pretty much every salad dressing there is out there has at least one of those components, if not both. So when I try to make my salads entertaining, I've decided to just not bother with salad dressing, honestly. And I add toppings that I find tasty. And the cranberries are one of those things. Moving on, we have some tahini. I have some still. It's a different brand because I got it at a different store. But I just wasn't confident that that was a whole quarter of a cup. I guess I could have waited out before I went grocery shopping. But I just added it to the list anyways. And this stuff is great for making hummus, which I plan to do. And I think it's in a couple of different things I do. I'm blanking on what right now, but basically, if you've never had tahini before, you probably have, you just didn't know. But it's ground sesame seeds, so it's like peanut butter, but with sesame. And it's kind of pungent. It's very bitter if you eat it on its own. But inside a lot of Mediterranean dishes, it is absolutely wonderful. Which is a thing that I've had to slowly learn, that there are ingredients in a lot of international dishes where on their own you could sample them and be like, why would you ever add this to food? And then you add it. And you know what? It's fine. Like fish sauce. First time I had a recipe that I decided I was actually going to buy fish sauce for. I opened up the bottle and gave it a sniff. You know, that's the cook in me to try to figure out the flavor profile. And I was just like, oh, that's stinky. That's so stinky. And I almost didn't add it, even though I had bought a whole jar of the stuff, right? And then you add it and you're like, oh, wow, this does taste a little more something. Usually my brain goes authentic, because if I'm cooking something at home, it's traditionally because I've tried something in a restaurant and I liked it and I don't want to spend $30 to eat it again, right? So yeah, there's a lot of ingredients out in the world that are just pungent on their own, but when you combine them with other stuff, they're delicious. So next up is some Triscuits. This is the zesty jalapeno flavor. We've always got to have, it's like a tradition now, of something jalapeno in pretty much every video, because my guy loves spicy, and by extension he loves jalapeno because that's kind of the easiest spicy flavor profile to get around here. But anyway, I got these and they'll be very useful because last night I had to use some of the ingredients in these bags already. That's just the nature of doing videos. Sometimes you have to shop a day ahead of when you record, right? So last night I made non-bread pizzas. So not non as in no bread, but non as in N-A-A-N, non. You know, it's kind of like a shortcut for making the dough, which I have made the dough from scratch, and I have bought like pre-made dough, and it's a lot of work. It isn't, but there's some setup you have to do to make pizza in a home oven. And I ran across a recipe where they just used non-bread, and I'm like, let's give that a go. So that's what we ate last night, and it was a smashing success, so I'll do it again. But I have a bunch of pepperoni left over, and pepperoni is not diet friendly for me, or tummy friendly, really. But my husband will be able to make little tiny pizza sandwiches in his lunches, because I'll add sliced cheese and the leftover pepperoni, and, you know, basically a grown man's Lunchable. So that'll be useful. Then we have some Brita filters. So this is just for the water pitchers, right? And I'm wondering if I should just get myself used to tap water again. It's a little, the water around here is a bit hard, so it's very mineral heavy, and it's got a bit of a chlorine taste to it. But getting one filter is about $10, and then getting 3 filters is about $25. And granted, a filter lasts about 2 months, so that's, 6 months worth of filtering, I guess. But I don't know, when you're really on a tight budget, an extra $25 all at once is a bit much. I think I've been overly worried lately about money, and I have to just stop doing that somehow. Okay. Now this little guy is some cashews. I need to get more of my protein from plant sources because my doctor says I need more fiber, and an easy way to get more fiber is to switch out your protein source. So anything from the legume family, peas and peanuts and etc., and then just other vegetable stuff. It hasn't been fun, I'll be honest. Okay. Completely not on the diet. We have some Top Ramen packets. Yay! Instant noodles. I loved ramen. I grew up on the stuff. My family often had meager points in the month, right, where I couldn't buy, or they couldn't buy, fancier things. So I got really used to eating top ramen. And now I keep it for like bad days where I need a pick me up. And it's totally unhealthy. It's basically just carbs and a little bit of fat, but sometimes you just gotta go with it. We have some more bell peppers. It had to have been last grocery haul. I had mentioned how they were a lot cheaper than average. And the price went down even more. They were only 88 cents a piece, which for red bell peppers in my area is crazy cheap. So we're going to just do a bunch of stuff with red peppers. I'm going to throw one of them in the hummus, and I'm going to throw one of them in the oven and roast it, and then one of them will just be for eating raw. Yeah, so I got a plan for all three. Next up, we've got some shallot. In my efforts to make more bird-friendly foods, I was kind of scoping out some recipes, and one of them that came up was for lettuce wraps. And I actually have a recipe for larb that I really like. Larb is, I believe it's Thai food, but it's like it's a ground meat dish that has lots of shallots. It typically has some other things in it that I wasn't able to get on this trip, and I almost put the shallots back. But it's like having an onion. It'll keep for quite a while. So I left them in my cart, but eventually I'm gonna make some larb. Now then, we have some Granny Smith apples. My guy loves apples, and Granny Smith, of all the apples, is his favorite. And then we have some dried mango. I plan to chop this up into smaller pieces and give it to my guy as a extra yogurt topping. Just add variety. It's the spice of life, right? And then we have fiber capsules. Another thing I need to do for my tummy health. What surprises me about these, because my doctor actually recommended like Metamucil. That's the one. But you have to dissolve that in water, and the water gets very thick because the fiber just thickens it. Let's not get too gross here. It's not for me. So I got the little pills instead. And they're fine, but you have to take like 5 of them, and they're huge. Like 5 of them at once. And I can do it, but it just, every time I look at them in my hand, because it takes up like the whole palm of my hand, I'm like, oh boy, this will be fun. Through the magic of editing, there will be no pause right there, but I ended up needing a little ladies' room break, and I noticed that my mascara had run yet again. I don't do a lot of makeup. In fact, I probably only wear makeup about 2-3 times in a whole month. But I was on the hunt for a new mascara, because that's one of the few things I actually do. I really am very minimal with it all. And I found one that had really good reviews. It's kind of expensive, $25 a tube. And I put it on my Christmas wish list. And my sister-in-law got it for me, right? It was exciting. And I do like that it was like one swipe and it just did what mascara was supposed to do. Darken, lengthen. Didn't give me spider eyes. But I have found that this stuff smudges. And in the past 2 videos, because it was after Christmas, so 2 videos, I have noticed that I've gotten some like raccoon lines going on at the end. And I'm actually really curious, do you guys notice that sort of thing? Or by this point, are you like just sleepy and enjoying the conversation? Because I really hate to throw out a $25 tube of makeup, but I don't think I'm satisfied with it. Okay, back to actual groceries. Well, this isn't actually a grocery, but I got it at the grocery store. And this is some good old dishwasher cleaner or dishwasher liquid. Yeah, it doesn't clean the dishwasher itself. That is a separate product. And I kind of felt bad for buying that stuff because I did find a homemade recipe that's a little more eco-friendly because you don't need a big old plastic container or whatever is actually in the dishwasher liquid. But even though it's cheaper overall to do the handmade stuff, it's a lot of expense up front. And I had run out of all of the supplies that I would need to make it. I need borax and washing soda and citric acid, and like buying all of those ingredients all at once, even though it would make me tons and tons of dishwasher cleaner. It just wasn't in the budget for this month, but I do plan sometime, switching back to the homemade stuff because I think it actually worked better than this commercial stuff. So, anyways, we've got some saltine crackers, the little fresh stacks. Been eating quite a lot of those lately, so not much to say there, other than bland is the word of my diet lately. And then we have some circus animal cookies. As you know, I like to add variety to my guy's lunch, and it's been a while since he's gotten circus animals. The first time I put them in there, this was really early in our relationship and me making him lunch. I put them in there mostly because they were like pink and silly and childlike, and I learned pretty quickly that he isn't bothered by any of those things. Like, he'll eat the pink stuff, he'll eat the sparkly stuff, he'll revel in the fruity things. So I bought them initially as a joke, but he actually kind of likes them a lot. So now I make sure he gets them a few times a year, just to keep things interesting. It's definitely not every month, but Our final dry goods item for today is some good old TP toilet paper, tushy wipes, if you will. I had the funny thought because right now, here in the US of A, things are a bit weird, and eggs are a big problem, but at least we can get toilet paper. And some days you just have to be grateful for the small stuff, right? So we got a nice big old pack, and I'm gonna move on to the refrigerator stuff. To start off our cooler items, I have not one, but two packs of bacon. Historically it's been cheaper to, if I want to buy a lot of bacon, to buy like the big deli pack. And today it was a few cents cheaper, but it wasn't really by a large margin. And I kind of, it's a little more plastic waste, which I should feel bad about, and I do moderately. But I kind of like having them in their own littler packages because I don't have to do quite as much setup to process the big giant bulk pack, right? And at the very least, it's not those little odds and ends that are just awful to work with. They're so much cheaper because they are the pieces that nobody wants to cook. They taste fine, but they're a lot more effort. And then next we have broccoli. Good old broccoli. Nothing too fancy to say about that. I'm going to roast it in the oven. That's pretty much the way I cook 90% of the broccoli I ever buy is by roasting it. I think it's like the best way to eat broccoli. Little oil, little salt, some time in the oven, bam. Steaming is okay, but it's a little bland, right? And eating it raw is also okay, but in sort of a somebody had a potluck and this is in the veggie dish level of okay. I don't really typically eat raw broccoli at home, I guess I would say. And then we have a big old thing of baby spinach. I have many uses for spinach this month, and my doctor will be happy to know that I'm eating my leafy greens, because I'm supposed to eat more of those. So I'll be making the spinach ricotta shells, and then I'll also be making myself a quiche. This will be like for my weekday lunches. I typically pack my guy something that's kind of equivalent to a school lunch, right? There's a fruit and a veg and a protein source, and it's all packed away in a lunchbox. But I work from home, and sometimes that means I eat up the leftovers. Sometimes that means I, pick at things. But I do plan on making myself a nice little quiche, eggs, spinach, Parmesan, real simple. And that should keep me for at least a week, assuming I still have enough eggs for it. Good old eggs. But speaking of the quiche, our next item is Parmesan. That goes into my recipe. Well, it's not really my recipe. I got it off the internet, like a lot of people do these days. And then we have some turkey. I'll put some of this in the Spanish ricotta shells. And then when I finally make the larb, I'll use the rest of it for the larb. And I know this isn't really a large pack, so a lot of people wouldn't split this between 2 meals, but I get tired of eating leftovers. And if I used that whole pack on one single dish, I would be eating quite a bit of leftovers. So, next up we have some ricotta cheese. That will be the main ingredient for my spinach ricotta shells. Yes. Little fun fact, if you go far enough back into my videos, before I got the braces and then the retainer, I used to whistle all the time. And I would edit most of them out, but sometimes I couldn't, because like the sentence wouldn't be finished if I tried to get out the whistle. It's not so much a problem anymore, but every once in a while there's like a kind of a thing going on, and I get self-conscious about it. But yeah, I don't know. It's funny. I've been reflecting a lot about the past lately, and I've been thinking about those really early videos as part of my reflection, and they were awful. It's kind of amazing that I've gotten this far, and I'm still, working with a crazy background and not really production quality, but I still got a lot of friends out of this whole experience. So yeah, amazing. Okay. Anyways, we've got some ranch, just regular old home style ranch. For my international peeps, I know that that's not really a common ingredient in many countries, but around here it's very common, and we'll put it on everything, honestly. I can't I mean, maybe not spaghetti, but pretty much everything else. We'll put ranch on it. Ranch on pizza? Yep, it happens. Ranch on fries? Of course. Ranch on chicken nuggets? Yep. Ranch just, it happens. That's all I can say. And then finishing out that particular bag, we have some beets. And it's kind of funny. Living in the US, you get used to every kind of produce being available year round. The prices will jump up and down based on availability, but they're always available. And over the winter, beets were like this tiny, and they cost like $5 for a bunch of them. And this has got some very, very hearty sized beets there. And it was only, I want to say $2.50 for this bunch. And it's hefty. That's got to be at least 4 pounds of vegetable there. But I'm excited. I like making roasted beets and potatoes. It's one of my favorite sort of vegetable dishes that feels decadent but isn't actually that bad. The potatoes are very heavy in starch and beets are a little heavy in sugar. And then you add oil to roast them in. So all of those individual components make it feel decadent, but there's still a lot of fiber. There's a lot of vitamins going on. It's really a good dish. And I'll probably be able to make 2 rounds of beets and potatoes with this bunch here because they're just so voluminous. And now we're on to, sadly, our last bag. It's the last cooler bag, and there is no freezer bag today. I did not buy a single freezer item on my last trip, and that's probably for the best because my freezer is a little full. But we still got a few things to look at. Mainly, let's try to find all of them. There should be 4. But Greek yogurt for my guy. I get the Greek ones because there's a little higher protein content, right? And I basically assume if he is in the mood for some yogurt at work, then he needs that extra bit of fluff. So we found all 4 of them. It was actually rather easy. Split among 2 flavors today. I got 2 peach and 2 raspberry. I think the peach will pair better with the coconut granola that I got, and the raspberry would pair better with the other one. Pumpkin is the other one. So I'm not going to really give him those notes. I'll just give him all the toppings and let him play with them at will. But yeah, just a fun little thing. I only got 4 because I know he has a fridge, but I imagine there's not that much room in it. I haven't seen it in person, but most mini fridges are pretty small. So we'll start with 4, and if he wants more later in the month, we'll just get more then. Now then, we got some good old butter. I've been going through a surprising amount of butter lately, considering I'm supposed to be doing a low-fat kind of a thing. I think part of it is that, when I run out of the avocado oil, I switch to butter, and part of it is that, I don't know, out of all the trigger foods, like acids and fats, butter seems to be pretty low on the list for some reason, for what harms me. I think individual people will have different experiences, but I don't know, I can eat quite a bit of butter. And I like butter, so I've been eating it. What you gonna do? Okay, we got some good old celery. That's actually going to mainly be for my guys' lunches. And I think at one point I said that I could put carrots in my guy's lunch every day, and he'd be fine with it. And he is fine with it. He'd never complain. But I was kind of, asking about vegetables and stuff because I had been throwing some random things in there based on, whatever was in the fridge, right? And he's like, well, actually, I kind of really enjoyed when, you did this and that, bell peppers or celery or whatever. And I'm like, I think it's time to shake up your vegetable routine on top of the treats and the starch, so to speak. So I actually did not buy any carrots this particular grocery trip, which feels really weird. I have to let you know. Because for a while there, I was buying like 3-pound carrot bag, at least once a month and occasionally twice in a month. So it's weird to not buy carrots, but it's for the best. Okay. We've got some asparagus. This was super cheap also in the store. There must be somewhere where they're growing really well right now. They're a little on the small side, but that might mean that they'll be more tender. I haven't cooked them yet, so we'll find out. And how much more do we got? We've only got 2 more items. All right. We've got a little zucchini. I have quite a few potatoes that I purchased previously and haven't really been utilizing because lately I've been kind of gravitating towards what's easiest. And when I cook with potatoes, it's either like roasted potatoes that take a while, or it's mashed potatoes where it takes a few steps. So I bought them thinking I was going to make shepherd's pie, or cottage pie rather, and that just didn't happen. And they're still sitting in there in my cabinet, and luckily potatoes keep for quite a while, but it's time to start using them. And that's a long way to say on one of our meal days I'm going to do roasted zucchini and potatoes, and I cut them both in sort of a fry shape, or a chip shape if you're in certain countries. But, wedges. There we go. That's a better way to say that. I cut them into wedges and I cook them in the oven. I start with the potatoes because they take a little longer to cook. And then for my guy, I give him some dipping sauce, usually ranch, because ranch goes with everything. Almost everything. And then for me, I usually just eat them plain because it's, the less cream and stuff that I eat, the better. But it's a good, it's a good mix. Anyways. Moving on. We've got some string cheese. Yay! This is another thing that's very, very consistent for the lunches, and is no surprise to anybody, I'm sure, at this point. And then hiding, there was one more item. But hiding was some good old mozzarella cheese. And that's for the spinach ricotta shells that I'll be making. They benefit from multiple kinds of cheeses, so a little bit of Parmesan, a little bit of mozzarella, and they'll just be an ooey gooey mess. The nice thing about cheese is that it's technically a protein source, so I don't feel as bad about eating it, but I can't eat too much because it also is a fat source. You gotta love navigating weird health things, right? And with that, we're at the end of the video. I think this one will be at least a decent amount of length. I'm not sure yet. I'm never really sure until I do the edit. I did, in case I didn't blab enough, I had pulled out somewhere. Let's see here. Yeah, there it is. One of those silly mystery fidget toys, but I don't think I'm going to unwrap it today. I have, I think, 3 altogether left. This one plus 2 more. I bought them ages and ages ago, and they're good filler, but I don't think I actually need it today, so I'm not gonna. I want to move along. My guy has already gotten home and he is very politely hanging out in the bedroom so as to not add any noise to my video. So even though he doesn't listen to these, shout out to my guy for being so considerate. And now we'll do all our rest of the shout outs. We've got a new subscriber here, Lighter Mandy. Thank you for listening. Beautiful Bunny. Oops, let's see here. Let me switch the tab here. Dulce Crystal, Carrie Higgins, Briar 2024, Max Frowny Face, and on YouTube it's Max Frowny Face 6352, who went on a trip. And let's see here, Dulce Crystal again. They love Rose. Oof, I don't know how to say that at all. McClinfiche. Anyways, that's just a couple of them. I get comments and I'm not always good about answering all of them right away. I usually am good for like one day after I post, and then it's not that I'm ignoring it, it's that I don't leave notifications on and I don't try to focus on it, because it's really easy to get stuck in a trap of wanting more likes, more attention, and I don't want this to be about that, honestly. So I'll comment when I log in and not comment when I don't. But when I do have the time and the desire to look at the comments, they're wonderful. I think I say that at the end of every video, but it's you guys that I keep making this content for. Haven't monetized, although I'm vaguely thinking about adding a coffee or Patreon type thing, maybe. I don't know. I really hesitate to add a monetary value to a hobby because I already do art as a business, and that makes it so that all the art kind of becomes work. And I don't want this to be work. But also, if I could get something out of it, maybe I'd do more. I don't know. It's a thought. Anyways, I appreciate all of you for taking the time to comment, for thumbsing up it, for subscribing, whatever you're doing. You know, just listening all the way to the end still helps me with the algorithm. So everyone who made it this far in the video, thank you. Genuinely, thank you. And I hope you have a good night. Bye-bye.